available for them and much more one-on-one attention to get them their education. And I think that's been a real strength to the program for all these years, is trying to find out what kids need that don't always meet the traditional way of learning. And Mr. McFadden has been doing an awesome job with that. An additional alternative ed is also turned into our AP courses that we can't always offer as part of the regular curriculum. Students that have outgrown our curriculum and need more, such as the statistics. And so I think it's really evolved into a way of meeting kids' needs in our district for them to be successful when they leave and be successful with whatever pursuits they want to do, whether it's military work or furthering their education.
Okay, thank you. And the other one I'll quickly add is we do inherit kids. I don't want to say majority, but a fair amount of these kids are not homegrown in the fact that they may move in from another district and we inherit their credit deficiency or their needed area of support. Because I think we've proven over the years is that the longer a cohort or a student can be in our district, less likely they may need this program. So if they start with Becky and Megan and get to us, chances are they may not have a great need for the credit deficiency part. So I'll quickly just talk about some of the programs that we've mentioned. The online are the AP courses, and then the Edgenuity that Mr. McFadden mentioned before is technically an online system or an online platform. We even actually had an incoming freshman this year take an online health class. So that's something where we can expand this into the summer as well. But our relationship with Wisconsin Virtual School that helped us, Scott, a couple years ago, that really there isn't anything they don't offer, I don't think. But the key to all of this is building relationships, and that is one of the reasons we decided to move Mr. McFadden into that position, is that the ability to build relationships with kids who by nature are not natural learners or need a little support. The PASS, and Mr. McFadden, what does PASS stand for? I forget all the time.
Oh, I can't help it.
Portable assistant students.
Right.
System.
Needless to say, it's been the majority of things that we've done in the 20 years is that the PASS is kind of the go-to because it's self-paced. I won't use the workbook, but it's all hand materials, because I think Jim has talked about over the years is that now you may have a student who is not inclined to study as hard as they possibly should or need to, who have never been online. Well, online is not going to help them. They need traditional book hand writing. So that's the PASS class, offered EL, Science, Math, Social Studies, and as Max said, we also offer that in bilingual in Spanish. Then the LCI, as Mr. McFadden said, we are in our third cohort year of students who came out of the middle school who were given a choice of English LCI, Social Studies LCI, which was together, and that cohort are now juniors, and then was it last year or this year and last year, we allowed them to pick and choose more student choice. So you might have an English only, a Social Studies only, or an English and Social Studies. So the help of Mr. Kneprath and Mr. McFadden over the last 2 years to build that program, we've been able to maintain that core group that came out of the middle school. And what we know about research is 19 is about right number for kids that would like to learn that way. Not to force it on to be more or less, but 19 is about right. Library pages, Mr. McFadden?
When I found out, to be perfectly honest, where I was located, I was not happy, okay? Because you look at the library and I'm like, show me an alternative environment that looks like this and I'll buy into it. So it's very hard to buy into it, I'll be honest. But I made it work. But then the joke in the district or around other people is, hey, you the librarian? And I'm like, I'm not the librarian. Okay? So with my son being an NHS, my oldest, who's a senior this year, I know he needed volunteer time, hours and stuff like that, so I went to Ms. Netting and asked, hey, can we get these kids to be in here during their study halls, be checking out books, doing the stuff, taking care of the copier, doing all the stuff that I don't want to do, right? So I have a ton of kids who are more than happy, and then other kids who are not NHS ask me, what are they doing? And I go, this is what they do, and they're like, can we do that? And I was like, sure, if you want to join on, you know, because then they rotate. So it's not like they're stuck there the whole week. So then they can do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So they're getting their hours in, they're, you know, helping me out, answering the phone, doing copies. So, great.
And at the next board meeting, Tom Nanig will be here to talk about our behavior system with the Cardinal scores and things like that. And the use of the library is an integral part of that, because obviously these are kids who have earned that opportunity to have a little less supervision and more independence as part of our behavior management system. So the library pages would be that group. I don't know if there's much left, Scott, other than that's the...
The only thing I wanted to add to how this has evolved too is with students with our mental health concerns that are maybe missing school for a couple weeks, a couple months, this has been an awesome opportunity for them to get back enrolled in school and to continue their education. And so I think we're really meeting the needs as much as we can with students coming back to us or students that have medical needs, been out because of knee injury,
Yep.
foot injury. And so this has really been a really nice fit to keep those kids going with their education and support from Mr. McFadden.
This is not special education, although a special ed student may benefit from some alternative learning.
Sure.
We still have the special ed population, and I think the other thing, after that, I think you'd be amazed at the variety of reasons a student may be in alt ed. It's really pretty amazing, and I think Mr. McFadden, with the help of Chris, we've really taken a whatever it takes response to this, and there's not a kid that we're not going to get through.
Just a quick question for you guys, and hopefully I can just get a kind of a yes or no answer. Kind of silly, but would an off-site location such as a building like this help to be able to do some, just a quick yes or no type of thing, or would it be more problematic logistically or things like that?
With what I'm doing now, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I have kids who are coming in and out of that library who are in one section as well. And they know when I walk around, because I deal with my kids, and then I get them to work. And then I start walking around, and it could be the A kid, the valedictorian kid, the 2.5 kid, and they know the first question I'm going to ask is, what are you working on? And then the second question is, how many missing assignments do you have? So I'm just constantly hammering every kid that comes into that library about what are, so I don't care
No,
who's
I'm
in
just-
there.
I'm just
So
curious.
if you take me
Just
out of that
logistically.
situation, I think I'm losing that element of,
You're losing an element of being able to follow up.
yes,
The other
and
piece-
build those relationships
The
with
other
those
piece,
kids.
Joe, is that this is not a self-contained program.
Okay.
Where I might be in biology first hour with Seeger, second hour I go to English with Ms. Schabel, third hour I have Mr. McFadden.
I got it.
Fourth hour I have a study hall, fifth hour I go to lunch, sixth hour I might be back to Mr. McFadden, and
Yeah,
seventh
so
and eighth
this
I leave
is-
for work study.
Okay.
And I want to answer your question with a no as well. Because I think we have amazing resources at the high school to make all students fit where they need to graduate from high school. And so I think off-site does not,
I just asked, just
I
curious.
think it's a great question. I think it's a great
I
question.
like
the, I like
the
the creativity because I know where you're going.
Yes.
with- with
I-
you're leading the witness, right?
Yeah.
No. Here's the thing. I noticed in the presentation that you did not mention an HSCD. Okay? So an HSCD is a Pedo 2 program that almost could be like an offsite thing.
Yeah.
And so my understanding is that we looked at our experience with that, and what we're a fan is getting a high school diploma, using the whatever it takes, looking at all these different options, and getting more tools in our toolbox to meet their needs. So over the last year and a half, that's what we've been working on, and what I appreciate is just the creativity that this team is bringing to the table, and just, hey, we're gonna figure this out. So one of the things with the HSCD program is that we're having that much success with it. So it's like, okay, what have we been good at? What are our kids, when they come to us, what are they very successful in? So it comes down to those relationships with kids, is what it comes down to. So if we were to run an off-site piece, it would be super limited for the high school our size. So this would be like a ghost town if we were to do it. So our goal is to try to bring them into the building and get them exposed to as much of the core curriculum as we possibly can.
With the spaces that have been created at the high school, I mean, I have never been so excited, and Matt can hear that too, is that the foresight of the space that we needed, I think allows so many opportunities for our kids regardless of where they're at.
Okay.
And so I think it's been just a huge, it's exciting to come.
The library.
Exciting to see the things we can do.
The library was designed for kids, like, for the AP courses. The conference rooms were actually designed for kids to be able to bring their devices and take them. But we also kind of pivoted this last summer for spring and made some changes and brought Mac and his program into the space. And to be fair, like, there's a lot of pluses I heard, but I think we still want to put it on the table as far as not having that exact model for next year. So we're going to listen and learn from this experience this year, but we may still advocate for that to be in a separate space. It was created for that. We have rooms right now were designed specifically for Mac to be in, but we made a move, and no regrets whatsoever. I think there's a lot of positive things that come out of it. Like a good example would be like the library pages. Awesome. Excellent to see the community service, kids being involved, kids being leaders, helping us doing tutoring in the library. Wonderful. Would we necessarily have to have you in the library to do that? I think you created a model, something that we could continue moving ahead. So I think we're pretty open to it, but definitely appreciate the flexibility of Mac and actually everybody here to help come up with that. That was a budget saver for us as well.
Appreciate what you guys do a lot.
This is, in closing, this is one version of an alt-ed program. You could go 10 miles down the road and see something entirely different. I think to Scott's point, we're always willing to adapt and based on the need of the kids. Because we can get a whole new set of kids in next year that may change this thing 180.
Chris started the piece sharing some wisdom of a prior superintendent, and he was like, hey, we're not going to do this alt-ed through a grant, we're just going to have our own program. So ours is, this is our own program, we are funding our own program. It's a whatever it takes. You can see a lot of touch points with all different kinds of students. Talk about learners on the edges, so students that here's your core, but then you also have your gifted and talented program and your at-risk program. So he's kind of encompassing all of that at the 9-12 level. So it's one umbrella, and it's happening with this team helping to support all of that. In addition, we have other AP classes that are absolutely, I would consider, GT track. And in all of our electives, we're identifying capstone courses that are the most rigorous and encouraging kids to exhaust the curriculum that we have in our school. But one of the things I would say is, like, I did go out years ago and I did get 2 alt-ed grants. But the key part with that was you had to be able to continue it. Because you get a grant and then the money's gone, and now what do you do?
Yeah.
And that happened all throughout the state, where people received the grants, when the grants were done, they cut the programs. So to compliment Mayville and Chris and Lee, when they started something, we stuck with it. You as a board, you stuck with it. But those grants are all gone. So there is no funding in the state of Wisconsin to support alternative education.
I think everyone out here is probably always concerned about or at risk about how many at-risk kids do we really have.
It depends on how you're describing it.
Right, because in the,
So,
because you look at alternative ed, I mean, alternative ed has like that, some for negative connotation, because they're like, those are the kids who flunk courses, need to recover. It's not necessarily true. I mean, I have a decent amount of those individuals, but also like I have a couple, you know, like the new kid from Nicaragua, you know, who comes in, or the kid who just broke his leg and he just needs to, you know, come in, or the horrible car accident that happened this summer and then we had to have her go through it. So, you know.
State of Wisconsin can identify socioeconomic status as at risk. You know, special education could be considered. It's not, you know, but they kind of, we have services and support for that, you know. So I would say socioeconomic disadvantage would be one of the pieces. The other part would be homelessness. Another one, like teen pregnancy, which we have very little of, but that's one right there.
And what we're really trying to do too is to be proactive. So when you look at your students that are at risk for not graduating, we want them not to be at risk for not graduating. And so we're really trying, and we have these discussions a lot more lately, is what do we do with our freshman, sophomore population to get it so that we're not looking at them being at risk for not graduating, but at the same time for our junior and seniors that have fallen into that. MAC has been so good at looking at our standards and targets and giving credibility to what we're trying to do to meet that individual student's needs, say in English, math, science, social studies, with the help of our staff. Our staff has been incredibly supportive of what we want to do that doesn't meet the traditional way of getting their education. So MAC is in constant contact with the teachers. I am, we is to see what we can do to meet those kids' needs and get them a Mayville High School diploma and for them to go out in the future and do great things.
Is there a reluctance of the at-risk to participate actively in this program?
I've only
Take
had,
advantage of the opportunities offered them?
you know, a lot of them are working at their pace. And I think that's what some of the issues are, is that they just don't like working at a certain pace. They have their pace. And so you have to be able to read them, you know, like it's building that relationship. I get it, I'm only gonna get 1.5% out of you today, where that kid over there is gonna give me 3%. And I don't wanna compare them because they're two different kids. So I just keep on reminding them, hey, you made good progress yesterday, let's make some more good progress today. And then they feel good because I'm giving them positive feedback instead of going, why aren't you making 3%? Why can't you make, I can't, because I think that's what they constantly hear. So I've only had one discipline problem all year out of all the kids I've dealt with, and it was over a piece of furniture. So it wasn't anything academic or anything like that. They know, get in there, get to work. I have my expectations for the week. They know the drill. You just sit down, I walk around, help them out when they need help, and go.
And with our students that are really severely credit deficient, and we're trying to do different things through MAC and the curriculum, is that we meet with those parents and we meet with the student. It isn't done without those people being an active part of what we're trying to do to get them their high school diploma. And I haven't had one parent that said, I don't want this. I've had all parents say, thanks for giving us an opportunity to do it a little bit different.
I really appreciate the flexibility and the desire to meet the needs of individual kids. I mean, what I hear here is you're not going to let people fall through the cracks. And that means a lot to me as a board member, as a community member.
Thank you.
There's nothing worse for a student than have a spiraling effect that they just feel like they're in a downward spiral and there's no way out. And this gives them hope and opportunity to see that they can go on and after, and graduate and be an active person in the society.
And I'll just finish, I think what's also been neat as far as being an elder person in our district now, is now I've seen my students who have now had students that are now in high school, so that does make me feel a lot older. But I think our commitment to education, now seeing those parents that maybe didn't have the best experience going to Mayville High School, but they're back, and now they're supporting their kids to get that education. And I think that speaks highly about our district, where I've not had a lot of negative conversations. They might have had a rough road, but they're happy having their kids be a part of our district and to continue for them to be successful. And I think that says a lot for our staff and our community.
Can I ask a big favor? Is there any way we can phone call these guys from at least a year out after they've completed
Sure.
high school and follow up,
Yeah.
see how we're doing with them? What
We
they're
probably have a lot of that
exactly with them?
anecdotally, Mr. Holman, just because the nature of being
Sure.
in the community, but yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea.
I
Monitor
think
the
that,
success
you know,
rates.
and that follow-up phone call might also just let them know we care
Sure.
about their success later on too. So
Yep.
I think following that would be a win-win
Very good
for us and them as well.
I can sure see the importance of this, because some of the kids, went to school with my girls that had problems in school, but really were such extremely intelligent people. And I've seen after they're out of school, what they're really, some of them really accomplishing. And a program like this is so important for those kids.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate your work.
Thanks.
Appreciate all your hard work. Okay, moving on down, we have new business. We have resolution 1920-124, approve the hire Amanda Gould for special education paraprofessional. Motion by Norm. Second by Joel. Who wants to speak on this one?
I can speak to it. Well, you're here too, then. So I can speak to it though. So the one piece I can't is there's 25% additional So what program is she supporting?
I
She's in
honestly,
the-
I'm
I remember.
not part of this interview, sir.
Yeah, so we've had additional students that have been added into the middle school that are in our ID program, so ID intellectual disability. So this is a support staff position in order to help address that caseload that's grown. Kara met with me, she came to the board actually and shared kind of current staffing piece. So as we look ahead, there'll be some additional new hires that are coming because of that presentation, as well as some changes that continue to come our way. So we just have growing needs throughout the school year. So we're looking at additional occupational therapy assistant time or occupational therapy support. We're looking at additional speech support above and beyond what we've already added for this school year. We have a actual special education teacher vacancy that's been posted, which is very difficult to fill due to our additional needs. We started out great with all the move-ins. This is not students that have been identified throughout the year. This is actual move-ins. And we started the year short on the paras. So we're making progress. We are starting to make some progress with that. So this is for a school year position. It's for 7.5 hours a day, which is pretty much like it's a full-time thing during the school year. So it's for a wage of $13.25.
Any questions on this approval to hire?
I just got one question. You know, while I was homebound, I kept looking at the agendas every week. And I noticed we have a lot of special education paraprofessional under that heading hiring. Is it turnover or are we just adding
Both.
both?
So we have had people hired that have not worked out. We actually had somebody we hired before, right at the beginning of the school year. They made it about a month and they left the state. They moved back to where they were
I was
from.
just wondering, because
So that
I've
would
seen
be
a lot
a-
of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have had change in the guard. We have new hires, absolutely, and we've had expanded need. So we've had both.
Okay.
So
So we're
I
keeping
see-
it the position pretty well filled though now, I mean, with all these new hires, or are we still going?
We're getting there. So right now at the middle school, you get an email that says what's vacant. So there's we have two positions that we're currently still looking for. So we are making progress.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Nor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Motion carried 6-0-1. Possible future action items. Announcements?
Concert.
Yes, concert.
I do have a question, just something to think about. One of our constituents asked me if there's a possibility of a student who wants to, when they get in high school, wants to be in an athletic program that we do not offer, such as gymnastics. Is there a possibility that a individual can co-opt with a school that?
We would have to formally adopt a co-op, so they would need to plan. So that's not something you can just do. So if we have, that would have to be a co-op that gets approved. We'd have to go through the whole process, but again, have to get approved by the WA on top of it. So that's a big deal. So,
We had some kids to walk on for hockey.
yeah, we can. I just think they really need to get a hold of us in advance if that's something that they're considering. Because we would not be co-opting with districts for like gymnastics. They would have to let us know in advance. I think it would be difficult to formally say we're doing a co-op and it's one student and there's nobody down the pipeline on top of it. So I have done co-ops in the past. They've been successful overall, but it's something that you don't take lightly. So you guys talked about hockey in the past. So my question is, what happened to it when they were done? Just sunset? Just moved on? So do we formally have a co-op with them for hockey then?
No, it'll be, new co-ops have a timeline, February for fall, summer for winter, fall to spring timeline, Jim, and then I think it's an annual renewal.
There you
So
go.
if you chose not to anymore, and I think we're all